one. So, you know what came to mind this week for a couple of different reasons. I was speaking to a very good friend of mine, Fabio, whose kids have really fallen in love with theater at school and like theater camps and all that stuff.
Mhm.
And which is super, super cute. And as we were sort of like, he was sharing pictures of me of his kids in their plays and different things, it kind of made me think of community theater as a whole. And I know that you and I have kind of like a background there. And at the same time, I don't know why, and tell me which musical it's from. I think I know of it. Where is there a lyric? Phi Beta Kappa Peterson, the English teacher's wife. Is that
That's
Bye Bye
Bye
Birdie?
Bye Birdie. Yeah.
Right. So for some reason that got stuck in my head. It must have been a couple of words that I heard that are in that lyric that made me, I could be, I met somebody with the last name Peterson, and then
Oh.
somehow that would come into my head. So, when I was talking to my friend whose kids are in it and he was sharing me pictures, it was all like the kids hugging each other and this whole like community that was sort of built in there. So it made me think about community theater, not just our participation in it, but as kids, this was something your mother was really great about. We would go experience community theaters in different, like, may it be Lebanon Opera House, or may it be the Lyme Theater with Lyme and stuff like that. So I don't know what came first, and I'm trying to think, like, what is it? Like, we can just sort of think about it as like, like community theater. So
Mhm.
was that something I think that's something that you and your mom might have done over a period of time, and I like kind of tagged along because I know that I really wasn't going to the local.
NCCT
Yeah,
production.
no, like that was not what my family like. I don't particularly love musicals or hokey kind of like um, theater, um, but it must have been something that your mom exposed me to. Was it something that you
100%.
guys
Like
did regularly? Was that like
we
a
did.
thing?
That's another thing I can remember as young as I yard sailed with her is going to um, local theater, mostly musicals. Musicals are were her definitely her genre and what she wanted to see. We'd go to like regular plays occasionally, but it was more musicals for
Yeah, and
sure.
I can remember going with you guys. I'm
Oh,
trying to
quite a
think.
bit.
Quite a bit. Yeah, that was usually an excursion. And I remember your sister would be with us at the same time. I um I'm trying to think how, I mean, when we were kids and we became friends, that was kind of like a normal thing that would happen. Like you'd occasionally come to the movies with us, and
Mhm.
I might occasionally go with your mom when she'd have a night off and we go to like see like a theater show. Um, but I'm trying to remember. So like to me, like community theater was never about this great desire to be an actor. I never had that really in it. I was actually very uncomfortable. I think now I was a little too early for the whole reality show movement. I remember always feeling like I'm much more interesting as a person than as a character. Like I'd
Mhm.
rather like get up on a stage and talk about myself, or I could probably do stand up, but I want to say that I kind of tagged along onto these things maybe because of you, because you were always in choir, and I think you were in theater, um,
Mhm. But you did the high school. You did high school plays
but
too.
really, to be perfectly honest, it wasn't a desire to be an actor. I just wanted to stay late after school and like run the roads, or like
Right.
practice for a play, and say that the play would practice would end at 10 o'clock when it really ended at 8 o'clock, and you'd be running around like a maniac. So it was never really to me a desire beyond just being able to be out of the house,
Wow.
whereas
See,
you were kind of like la 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 and
I'm gonna be an actress.
you wanted to be an actor.
But you were
I never.
supportive, and you might have been like we did a lot of the extracurricular outside the theater, like saying it ended 2 hours later so that we could like go to George's and run through the cemetery and do different things like
Yeah,
that.
that to me is why I wanted to do it. I loved the practices, maybe. I kind of loved the people. So there was this back in our day, non-high school. So had we done high school theater before the Shoestring Players came to town?
I wish I could remember. We were young because we did that first like antic spring and we had to, Mora was in it. We had to be early high school or junior high.
So what came first, the Shoestring Players or high school theater?
For both of us.
No, one came first, to me.
Well, I think I was Snoopy in elementary school. Mr. Downall, we did like I was in Mr. Downall's class and he was a theater guy. And I was in all the elementary stuff too, anything that he put on.
So I dropped out of the Snoopy production in grade school. I remember that. I can't remember what part I got, but I had no desire. I think it was because it was singing and dancing. And it
was a Good Man Charlie Brown songs.
Yeah. Yes. And it was what were you? Were you Snoopy?
I was Snoopy. I did that. And I'll jump and I'll pounce. It was like supper time.
Did we all have a chance at supper time? Because I feel like that's the part I dropped out of. Either that or I was Charlie Brown, because I remember other people being Snoopy.
Yeah, maybe we all had a chance, but all I remember is my version of it, of course.
I do remember seeing it. I was definitely in the bleachers. I had a part at some point, and I definitely dropped out for some reason. I had stage fright about singing. I swear we all had a turn at that Snoopy part. I swear it was Snoopy. So you did that. I don't remember doing any high school theater. I remember
you did juvie.
Well, no, I did do high school theater, but I still think the Shoestring Players that were first.
Was first, okay.
The town community theater was the first thing I did.
How did we find out about that even? How did we end up at this meeting with all these people we were the only kids?
We were the only kids. I feel like it's the type of thing that you and your mom would have come across. I always
maybe in the Country Chronicle or something.
Yeah, but you and your mom would have these great, I always call them these Sunday dreams, where you'd say, I'm gonna get a horse, or I'm gonna be an actress, or I'm gonna be a model in Love's Baby Soft. So I feel like it must have started with your parents, and I probably just tagged along.
I don't know. Fred Griffiths was the founder of it. Good old Fred. And so we might have had some connection with other people that we know through Fred. I don't know. But it was pretty cool that we ended up sitting around that conference table.
Yeah, it was super strange. I know that there is, I don't even know if people do community. I mean, it's such a weird time right now. It seems like I can't remember the last time anybody was doing that, but I guess they probably still are doing it. Maybe you're just getting back into it.
Yeah, I would think maybe if they did it, they'd videotape some of it and tried to do it virtually for a while.
Yeah, maybe. But it is kind of an interesting, but yeah, it wasn't anything that was like a desire. It was a necessary evil to be out of the house and run around town.
Then we really branched off and started not that we got many parts going out beyond our little scope of the world, but we went to NCCT and auditioned for a couple of those musicals. I thought I was
and I was just tagging along. I hated it. I hated those auditions. Again, it wasn't anything. It was just having an excuse to hang out with you, outside of normal school hours was the main driver. Or when we did do high school plays, it was again I remember, roaming the halls after practice would end, and some of the girls in these plays flashing the janitors and with their coats. So it was really just to run around. It wasn't to me anything. I'm sure you were
I was this is serious. This is my career. I remember what a math teacher told me that I had to give it up, that I was too old already. I mean, I was a junior or senior in high school. I remember this math teacher telling me that it wasn't a good idea that I try to be an actor because everybody started younger than I was. And I was that's ridiculous.
The high school we went to, if there was ever a dream killer, it was that high school. But
a math teacher of all things, they knew I hated math. I was horrible at math. At least encourage me to do something else. If you know I'm not going to be a freaking scientist, obviously, or a doctor, say, what the hell? Go be an actor.
Yeah, that is sort of the type of thing that you lose in an underfunded kind of small town, is the creative arts. So I'm sure that it served a purpose in some degree.
There were some really great people there in the creative, like I started off with Mr. Downall, and there was an amazing choir and drama teacher in high school that was very encouraging to me.
But you did theater in college, though.
Yep, in college, and then you and I both did a little off.
But that was like Broadway. Kind of like just getting talked into it. I had no desire to do that. I think that that was like when you did plays in college. I know that you did some plays with Greer, who was our
Greer and I.
And Greer very much she kind of ran for the dream of the, successfully, in
100%.
And she kind of took it as something that she wanted to do full on. Did you ever think of doing it?
I kind of wasn't lost the spark of doing it, but I think maybe that between the math teacher's voice in my head saying that you have to have like something super special, you have had to have started this, you have to have like an education in it. I knew I wasn't going to like pay for acting school. And I knew from a drama class in college that my voice wasn't quite like, I had a hard time controlling my vocals, not with singing necessarily, but with speaking. Like I had my inflections weren't that great, said this one college professor at Castleton, not even Green Mountain. It was an acting class. It wasn't a play.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of brought me down. I was like, oh, they're always going to say something about my voice.
It's so funny how teachers back then could really plant a seed. They weren't, I never had that teacher that I remember like putting that kind of stuff in my head. I don't think anybody ever, because I think from a very early age, I kind of was like, I'm out of here the second that I can. Like, I didn't feel like this was, like, I don't want to say that I didn't respect, and I certainly was inspired by teachers, but not to get off tangent, I don't think that there was a teacher I respected enough to say something negative to me that was going to stick.
Right. And I should have listened to all the teachers, the positive people, the teachers that were saying, that you're great, you can do this. And instead, I think it was a lot of self-esteem and everything like that. I don't know. Or it was partying, or it was just like needing to get a job and make some money. I don't know. I just never, I did for a long time think that I was going to be an actor. Growing up, I was like, because my mother, of course, never dashed my dreams at all.
No, she probably overindulged them.
She's like, we got to go to the dentist. You need to fix your teeth. Like, I mean, she was right.
You need singing lessons, and there was a piece of
singing lessons.
That was lessons, and I can remember being like, I was so angry with those Sunday dreams because I lived in such a practical house where you would not have thrown money away like that, but. Kind of to tie this back up, it's sort of what I do think, what I was seeing in my friends, pictures of his kids and all of the kids hugging after the play and like people like showing up with flowers. And I do think it's just such a lovely, accepting, encouraging environment to be in. There aren't really any I'm sure if you're doing Annie on Broadway, those girls are out of it, even if they're 5 years old. But I think in those kind of like environments, it's still like very encouraging. Everybody's it's like when your boys did ballet, like everybody was so happy for each other and encouraging and clapping and cheering each other on. So,
and there's actually like, I remember being depressed, like down in like blue when a play was over. Like, what am I going to do now? Like that that horrible. It was almost like a breakup, like when you felt like later on, like I equated it to kind of like breaking up with somebody, and that kind of that grief of losing something. Yeah, I don't know if it was losing the character or losing the experience or losing that close connection with everybody that was in the play. But I would go like, my mother hated that part. She'd be like, you gotta, there'll be a next one. There'll be a next one.
And to me, it was just, it wasn't about being sad about it being over with. It was like, what is the next thing that we can do so that we can be out late at night? So it was like, when is the next one? Or when are the auditions for the next one? Because I feel like we were auditioning even on nights when there weren't auditions. We just say that there were auditions.
Oh my God.
My poor grandfather would drop us off in towns, and auditions are running until 10 o'clock at night. Like it was wrong.
My father would drop us off. Your grandfather would be the poor one that would have to come pick us up at 10 or 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah. So, but it was kind of like, again, it made me, between that and that Bye Bye Birdie song, I couldn't get out of my head. It was something that made me think about, even though I never, ever had any desire to be an actor, I still think it was, they're really, really nice memories for sure.
Really nice memories. Even like the smell of the different theaters, and like you remember the above the library there, the stage that we performed all the Shoestring Players when, I can still kind of like get that feel of that stairway up to it, and as you go in, and wood floor,
the smell of the curtain and all of that kind of stuff, like that dusty kind of curtain. Yeah, so I totally remember that as well. So this has been a fun walk down memory lane.
Such a good one.
As random as it may be, but, you know,
it's always random.
Our walk down community theater. So I love you.
Love you so much.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.